Okay, well, I just picked up a brand new iPad Pro.
Actually, all
11 inch.
just looks like a box.
Yeah, well, this is the box. The iPad Pro is being utilized right now. And we want to talk about, real quick, the advantage, because we've never really mentioned anything about tablets and how they could be an important tool to consider for your photography, especially in post-production. And something else we're going to talk about, I'm going to show Duet, which allows you to use a tablet, especially the iPads, as a secondary monitor for laptops. So I guess you can use it on a desktop too, but we're particularly interested in using it on a laptop when you're traveling because it's portable, has additional capabilities, and you've got on the Android side.
Right. There's several up there. As a matter of fact, supposedly Duet will work on the Android side.
Yep.
There's been mixed reviews. So I did some research and came up with one that will work. And I don't want to be a
and there's a new
spoiler alert.
New one coming out, and it's currently a Kickstarter project, which won't be out until perhaps May
software?
of next year.
Or hardware?
No, it's a combination hardware that will let you use a tablet
Externally.
So you're going to have to wait till next year before we can do a review on that one because it's not on the market yet. But it is still on Kickstarter. So if you're interested in that, and I think it's around $60, which is a lot more expensive than the. Don't hold me to that price. I can't remember. But
well, think about the fact that, as you said, people on the road with their laptop having to do post-production, and we already know with the iPad Pro. And with, I guess...
Or you got the iPad Air, or you can even get the newer versions of just the regular iPads or iPad Mini.
Any of the iPads, you can use Adobe products.
Yep.
They do have a version of Lightroom, and they have a lot of cloud products that you can use on the tablet by itself, and some people edit that way. However, what we're saying is that you have your laptop, that's your best friend for editing, you're on the road, but you're so used to having a second monitor, especially with something like Lightroom, where it'll utilize a two-monitor editing system. What are you going to do? As Jim said, he's got his iPad Pro, and I'm an Android tablet user.
Let's stop talking. Let's actually
let's show them.
Let's go.
That sounds great.
Hi, I'm going to do something just a little different here. As you're probably aware, that computers now have become just as important to the photography process as perhaps the camera and lenses themselves. We do all our post-processing now on computers. And as I said, this is going to be a little bit different because what I'm going to take a quick look at, and this is not going to be a complete review, we're going to do a follow-up on this later, but this is the new iPad. This is the 11-inch iPad, which I have right here, and I thought it was important enough. I just picked this up, and I find that it can be very valuable, especially for people that are traveling for our photography. Of course, Adobe supports this now. We have Photoshop, we have Fresco for drawing, Lightroom, Creative Cloud. There is a number of great programs for photography. In addition, the iPad, although I'm not advocating using this as a camera necessarily, but it does have an HD 4K camera on the back side and does take stills and a number of great apps. In addition, and something that I picked up, and this is kind of expensive, there are alternatives which are less expensive. The problem with most of the alternatives, with one exception, is they don't use the pressure sensitivity. And the Crayola crayon from, I guess Crayola, does have that, but only if you tip the pen to the side. So I went ahead and decided to get the new iPad pencil, and this is the second generation. The first generation actually required a separate charging cable. This one charges when you put it up, and it's got a little magnet there that sticks to the top of the iPad, which makes it nice. This is great for taking notes, but also if you're using Photoshop or Lightroom or one of the programs on the iPad, it gives you more control over the with this smaller screen, over adjustments that you can do, very much similar to what you can do with a Wacom tablet or even a touch-sensitive computer. But this has another advantage, which is not only limited to the iPad Pro, and I should mention the one I have here, this comes in two different colors. It's got the silver color, and I've got a case on it, so you really can't see that, and black. I think there's a $5 difference between them. I think the black is $5 more. It comes in a 128, 256, 512, and 1 terabyte versions. I got the 128 as I don't intend to store that much on it, so of course the price is going to go up. This does have a Wi-Fi as well as cellular. If you don't need the cellular, you can save some money by buying the Wi-Fi only version. But you don't necessarily have to consider, now this is the newest iPad, and of course its price is going to be high, the iPad Pro. But there's the iPad Air, and any of the later generations or the more recent generations of iPad, including the iPad Mini Generation 5, which will work with the first generation pen. And I understand that the newer iPad Air will also work with this second generation pen. So those are also considerations, and you might be able to pick up those used and refurbished. So I'm going to show you something here in just a moment, if you'll bear with me, that I think could be very, very, very valuable, especially for those of you who travel. So give me just a moment to set this up, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, I'm back, just as I promised. Now, as I had mentioned, that computers are just as important part of the photography process as cameras and lenses. I mean, back in the day we had our dark rooms, but now we do everything on computers. And if you use a desktop and you have dual displays, you have a second display connected to your desktop, you know how valuable that can be, where you can take and move your extra menus and have additional real estate space on your desktop to things that you may not use all the time in Lightroom or Photoshop, where you can move them kind of off to the side so you can have larger images of the image you're working on. But if you're traveling and you're not using a Mac, which a Mac has a sidecar, you may find yourself, and generally the laptops of course have smaller screens anyway, with limited real estate space. But now there is something called Duet, a program that allows you to run it, and this works with Macs as well, that you can run on your desktop, and you can use one of the newer generations of iPads as a secondary display. Now the program will run you $9.99 for the app. The PC or Mac part, there is no charge for that, but you need both parts. And you just plug in your iPad into a USB port. In the case of the iPad Pro here, I have to use a USB-C, and run the programs, and it was that easy. Now there is a Wi-Fi, or is an option to allow you to do it wirelessly. Now the iPad Air option to allow you to use the iPad wirelessly on your display is $1.99 a month. It's a monthly fee that you have to pay. There's also an iPad Pro version, which gives you a few more features. It's not really necessary. That's $29.99 for that. But I find the Duet just works just fine, and it allows you the mouse. I can let's see. Let's bring up Photoshop here, and of course you can unlock your menus as necessary, and you can drag them over to the iPad. Now, again, you do not have to use the Pro models. You can use any of the newer generations, including the iPad Mini, which is 5. You can also use your Apple phone, although that doesn't really help much because the screen isn't that big, but you can hook that up and yes, it will work. And by the way, the iPad pencil still works on the iPad as well as the mouse in here. So I brought an image up here, and as you can see, I can take and move. Maybe I want layers here moved over. I can move that off over onto my iPad and have it out of the way. So I can open this up a little bit more and have a little bit more room for my image if need be. So see, it's quite easy to move menu options over onto the secondary screen to give you more real estate on your primary computer. And I'm so far been very, very happy with Duet. I've had no problems with it. And there is another program coming out that's currently on Kickstarter that just reaches their funding, and that will probably come out early next year. So when that comes out, I'll also do a review and tell you how that's going to work. So yeah, I really recommend Duet, or take a look at it for $10. It really works great if you have an iPad that you can work with. Like I said, you can use it with your phone. I don't recommend that because that's not really going to give you a whole lot of real estate there to work with. So if you have questions, please leave them in the comments, and please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, as we're going to bring you more goodies, and we're going to do more in-depth reviews of the iPad and Duet programs similar to that. So we need your subscriptions in order to keep doing that. So thank you very much. All right, well, you have something that you want to show because you have actually figured out how to use, and you're using a Amazon
Fire tablet. What
right?
I did is I was saying, look, it would be great to get a really high-end Android tablet, but why not say, hey, this is one you had at home. Maybe the kids were using it. Maybe you use it just for watching movies or whatever. Working with what you have, right?
Yep.
And so I said, I'm going to see if I can actually use it as a second monitor.
Does it have the capability? Does it run the Adobe products as well, or?
On Android, you can run Adobe products. The problem with the Amazon Fire is that it uses its own
proprietary
system.
No,
not proprietary.
It's a modified. Well, that's what Android is.
You can't easily get things off the Play Store, is what I was going to say, the Android Play Store. There is a way to do it. You have to sideload the Play Store app and some other things with it, which I did.
It's not jailbreaking it then.
You're not actually. It's called rooting.
Okay.
Jailbreaking would be on an iPad. Rooting would be done on a Android device. So I don't have to root it. All I had to do was call something called side loading. You go in there and you tell it it's okay to load, just like you would on an Android phone, to load from other sources, because Amazon uses their own Amazon app.
Right.
That it's called the Amazon app, I guess is really what it's called.
The app.
Because you download apps for the Android from their store. Unfortunately, it's sometimes you see the same things on both, sometimes you don't see it at all on one or the other. And so I wanted to make sure I had the best of both worlds, so I side-loaded.
The point is, you do have a capability, then you're using it separately in addition to using it as a secondary monitor.
Yes.
So why don't we go ahead and show the folks the Fire tablet as a secondary monitor.
My unlikely Fire tablet as a second monitor.
Okay, let's do that.
Well, hi. Jim talked about his iOS connection, in other words, taking an iPad and connecting it to his laptop, and it worked great. I decided, you know what? I have this meek and mild little Amazon Fire HD tablet. Not that big, and a lot of people don't think it's very powerful, but I wanted to make sure that I could attach any Android device to my laptop and use it as an external monitor. Now, Duet supposedly will work. I didn't test it because there is a cost to it, so you can't try it before you buy it, and I read reviews, and there was mixed reviews on it for using it with Android devices. With iOS, it seems to work great. So I shopped around and I found one called Wiredx Display by a company called SplashTop. Now, SplashTop originally came out with a product called the SplashTop Remote Screen. You don't want to download that by mistake. The actual product is called Wiredx Display, just like it sounds. So what I do is that I tried it, found that it worked. I had to download and load the SplashTop Wiredx Display agent. Now in my case, I don't have it running every time I start up, even though that's the default. I have it set so I can turn it on when I want to. So that's what I'm going to do now. And it'll show up. And it actually comes up with a display piece. It lets me set resolution. And as you can see, it automatically, you heard a little tone, it actually now has extended my desktop right onto this. I happen to have the software working on this guy. I can turn it off. All I've got to do is basically find the software and disable it and say never mind. Or if I turn off by pressing on it and saying exit, it goes away, and then this goes back to doing it. So I'm going to repeat the process again. Now in my case, like I said, I normally don't have that running, the agent, because I don't want it constantly in the background when I'm on the road. If I'm not using an external monitor, I just want it ready for me. So I have it set up so where I can fire it up. It comes up with my display agent, and then I go over here to the actual app. That's what cost me just under $7. I think it's like $6.99, something like that. It'll see it using the two USB connections. It happens to be a USB-C on the Fire tablet, and luckily on my laptop, because I had a C to C cable, I had a C connection, which many of the new laptops have. But I could use a C to A, and this would work just as well. The bonus, it's interesting because as soon as I plug it into any of my USB ports, it warns me that I'm getting a low charge on there. But that's good, because while I'm running this, I can have power going to this, and I'm not worried about running out of battery on this guy because it's got a charge going. And it's not as low as it warns you, because I actually used it for a couple of hours playing around with it. It worked great. So you can see here I have a display agent, and I can set resolution. I can do a bunch of different things. And it works great. I can see an extended desktop on this. No, it's not a gigantic screen, but if you need to have a dual monitor setup and this is all you have to work with, working with what you've got, right?
Okay. Well, there we go. Now I wanted to mention a couple things too on the reason why I picked the iPad Pro over some of the other ones, that it uses the new second generation pen, which has the capability, it's got the magnet that charges when you attach it to the iPad, which the first generation don't. But there's no reason why you can't use the first generation and get, because you can get some bargain prices on the earlier versions of the iPad, but I believe only the new Air and the two iPad Pro models allow you to use the second generation pen at this point.
Why would you?
What
would be the benefit of having the pen? Because most people just used to using their finger.
Well, the pen has capabilities. If you're interested in art, you can draw with it. And for using it with Photoshop and stuff, it's just like using a what do you call it? Like a Wacom tablet, where you can have extra control over it if you're using it to process images on the tablet. The pen really comes. Now, the only disadvantage with the pen, it's expensive. It's $125 if you want the Apple Pen. Now, there are some cheaper ones that don't have the pressure capability that you can pick up for $20 or $30, and I believe Crayola has one that is probably about $60 or $70 that doesn't have the pressure capability, but it does kind of simulate it by tilting it. So something to consider. And I don't think they have a pen available for most of the Android tablets.
Well, no, that's not completely true. They do have pens available for the, and it always escapes me, the phone manufacturer that makes tablets and pablets. Help me out with this one.
I don't know what company you're talking about. There's a lot of companies. Motorola.
No, it's not Motorola.
Samsung.
Samsung. Thank you.
Samsung, okay.
Sorry about that. I had a definite senior moment. Sorry about that. But
They're getting
Samsung
older.
does have tablets that use pens as well as tablets.
Mm-hmm.
Combination phone tablet. It's a little bit bigger than a phone, but smaller than the average tablet.
Right.
And they both use pens. Now, are they capacitive?
It's
Are
smaller
they
than the
smart
average
pens?
tablet. I couldn't help that.
Okay.
Hey, boo.
Hey, Yogi, I don't think that's a good idea.
Here's a picnic basket. Okay.
Okay.
Enough of that. I think it's time for us to
It's
go. We're
time to
getting
go.
slap out. So if you have questions,
Our medication has failed us again.
Yes.
So it's time for us to go.
Yeah. So thank you for watching. I hope you have. We didn't scare you off, and you subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Please do that. As a matter of fact, maybe things will be better. I promise.
Yes, they will. All right. Bye for now.